Could this be the least worst option for buying an entry-level Chromebook in 2025 that uses the Intel Celeron N4500 processor from 2021? Let's take a look. Welcome back. So today we're unboxing and taking a look at the 2025 ASUS Chromebook CX14, a very much entry-level Chromebook in a clamshell configuration. The 4-year-old processor is paired with 4GB of RAM and 64GB of storage, but there is a model option with 8GB of RAM available that might be worth checking out. As posted to X Threads and Blue Sky, I paid just £127, that's about $170 US, and that was for this brand new. So ASUS call this colour pure grey and it's with texture finish. I'd say it's closer to a white than a grey, but it's definitely got a texture finish to it, pretty unique on the top here. It is all plastic. Not sure if it's picking up well on camera, but you can see it's almost like textured paper on top of the lid there, so definitely something a little bit different there. I should also mention there's some other colours available, including 2 blues, one that's called Quiet Blue and one that's called Fabric Blue. It's 14 inches, it's got a 16:9 aspect ratio display, and as I say, the top, the bottom, the full chassis is all plastic. Feels fairly well put together, but it's also pretty weighty. So ASUS claim 1.39 kg. I'll flash up on screen now what I've weighed it in at. For ports and connectivity, starting on the left, you've got the one USB-C 3.2 Gen 1 port for power data and display out. Then you've got an HDMI port, not always included in a more budget Chromebook. I believe this one is version 1.4b. And you've got a full-size USB-A port, and then there's a headset microphone combo audio jack. Over on the right, it's just the Kensington Nano port to lock it down if you need to. For wireless connectivity, it's Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5.4, so a little bit more up to date on the Bluetooth standard there. Taking a look underneath the Chromebook, and there's no ventilation for the processor, as that's not needed with the Celeron N4500. And unfortunately, you have got the speakers down here on either side, so it's not going to be producing the best sound quality. Always nicer when we see those speakers up on the keyboard deck. Opening the Chromebook up for the first time, and the display does go back 180 degrees flush against the keyboard, which is always nice to see. And the keyboard deck itself looking fairly nice. So we've got this textured finish all around the keyboard deck as well, just the same as we had on top of the Chromebook. So that's pretty cool to see, a little bit different. And we've got the keys in this kind of grey-white colour again. Maybe not ideal for seeing in all lights, but I quite like the look of it in a kind of retro way almost. But the interesting thing that we've got here is we've got the new keyboard layout. So we've got the new quick insert key over here on the left where the launcher used to be, and that means we've got the new G-branded launcher key on the bottom here. We've also got the smaller size enter key here, which for the UK market, we're normally used to having the full-sized return key. So that's one thing to be aware of. Testing out the actual key travel, and it's feeling pretty nice actually, just on a very quick check. And it's a sort of medium to longer key travel, but feels like they're going to be, and sounds like they're going to be pretty quiet keys. So that's pretty nice to see on an entry-level Chromebook. The touchpad as well, so yeah, it's plastic, it's fairly smooth. This one is well seated, it doesn't sound as hollow as the one on the CX15 Chromebook Plus that I tried out the other week, but that perhaps needs tightening up a little bit. But yeah, this overall, the keyboard deck seems fairly nice. It is a shame not to have the speakers up on it, but we do know that there's going to be corners cut with this being a more budget entry-level Chromebook. I've powered up the Chromebook and got my test user set up now so we can have a better look at it. And talking about the screen to start with, so it's 14 inches and it has a full HD resolution. You don't always see that on a lower end entry-level Chromebook. It is of course non-touch. Unfortunately, it's TN rather than IPS. So that means your viewing angles aren't going to be as good and some colors are going to look a bit washed out. Related to that, it's only 250 nits of brightness. So again, don't expect this to be the brightest display out there. It is in a fairly traditional 16:9 aspect ratio, and I'd say it's got more of a matte finish to it. The bezel appearance isn't too bad at all, and ASUS claim there's an 86% screen to body ratio on this one. And at the top of the display there's a webcam with manual privacy slider. As expected on an entry-level Chromebook like this, it's just a 720p camera. Testing out a bit of Real Racing 3 here, and the Intel Celeron N4500 from 2021 can cope with that. The 4GB of RAM, again, you'll get by as long as you've got other things closed down, but I would look for that model option with the 8GB of RAM. And for storage on this one, there's just 64GB of eMMC storage, but again, there's an option for 128GB that's worth keeping an eye out for. One additional drawback of the processor is that ChromeOS updates are only going to run through to June 2031. I know some people may expect 10 years of updates for a new Chromebook in 2025 to mean it lasts through to 2035, but that's not quite true. It's down to the platform inside, and because that processor came out in 2021, the updates are only going to last until 2031. Hopefully, if you're still watching, that means the video is worth a like. If you want to check out the larger and more powerful ASUS Chromebook Plus CX14, that video is on the left for you to watch next. Otherwise, the YouTube algorithm's choice is on the right. Cheers.